Hi, welcome to Heal Body, Mind and Spirit. My name is Dermot Farrell and today I'm going to talk about New Year's resolutions and how to keep them. So we're now coming towards the end of December and this is the time of year when we start to make New Year's resolutions. Or if you're seeing this video at another time of year, well, you can take a resolution any day of the week if you like. So I'm sure if you've been knocking around the planet for a few years by now, you're aware of how it is that we make resolutions but then we have great difficulty in keeping resolutions. So how can we all need to make resolutions from time to time, we need to make changes, and the new year is a time of natural reflection, the end of the old, the beginning of the new. There's a shift in energies, usually in a good part of the world there's a shift from the winter time slowly towards back into the hotter and brighter light as well. So it's a psychologically good time to take stock and to renew ourselves and to move on to bigger and bolder things. But I'm sure if you've been knocking around the world for a while, you've noticed that resolutions tend to fail by the end of January. I remember I used to go to the gym when I was living back in Ireland. It was a big commercial gym, and every January we would be flooded with new people. You'd be queuing to use machines. I used to find it irritating, but I used to cheer myself up by reminding myself that by April it will be over. And really what was happening was that 50% of the people would leave in January and the other 50% would leave over February and March, and we're back to baseline by April. And this is of course how big commercial gyms make money. They make money with gym fees, joining fees and stuff like that. Knowing full well a lot of people will take a discount to take a year out and they'll disappear after a month or two. So why is it that we fail in our resolutions? And the interesting thing is, if you think about it logically, we shouldn't. For example, probably the single biggest thing, well, there's a couple of things. Say, for example, smoking. Smoking is very difficult to give up. Smoking is an addiction, just like drinking alcohol or taking drugs. So in fairness, smoking is in a league of its own because you're fighting an addiction. But let's say regular things like losing weight, for example, or saving money or changing your career. Regular things. If you take losing weight, so many of us struggle to lose weight. Well, what is losing weight? I mean, there's about the old way of thinking was 3,500 calories a pound. It's probably more like 4,000. Probably it's more complex than people think. It's probably more like 4,000-ish. Put it this way, if you drop more or less 500 calories a day, if the average person eats 2,500 calories a day to survive, and they either do 500 calories more activity like in the gym, or they drop 500 calories via diet, they're going to lose, roughly speaking, a pound-ish a week, at least somewhere between 2 to 4 pounds a month depending upon the metabolism. It's very easy to lose 40 or 50 pounds of fat in a year if you know what you're doing, if you're exercising and dieting. Yet so few of us manage to do it, and I've tried it myself so many times and I fell flat on my face. Sometimes made success, sometimes didn't. I found it so hard to do it, but it's not really as hard as you think. And so many things are like this: saving money, career changes, relationship improvement. And this is where most of us find ourselves stuck. And I think that we can do a lot better than we realize. Not that we can do perfection, but we can do a lot better. Now the interesting thing is, when we look at it, the change is very simple. Okay, you want to lose weight, drop your calories. You want to save money, just drop your expenditure. You want to improve your relationships, see what the problems are, and challenge the people in your life to make improvements, including yourself, etc. If you want to change your career, find something you want to do, study it, specialize in it, put some time into it and do it. You want to live in a big house, well, start saving for a big house. It's actually very simple. To achieve the things you want to achieve in life are simple. Let's say you want to be a more balanced, harmonious person. You want to grow and develop as a human being. You want to become a more spiritual person. Again, read books, do courses, do work on yourself, do some journaling, do some group therapy maybe, join meditation or yoga or something like that. It's all simple. But it's simple, but it's not easy. And that's the challenge. The challenge is easy. We want things which are easy. So very quickly, I just want to go through what I feel is some of the reasons why we don't fulfill our resolutions. And the biggest thing, which I'm going to say here, and I'm going to just categorize it into a few little subcategories, but it's one thing basically, which is self-sabotage. The big thing that stops us achieving what we want to achieve is self-sabotage. What is self-sabotage? Self-sabotage is whereby a sub-personality doesn't want to play ball. And the way to see it, there was a famous English philosopher called Thomas Hobbes, And he did a lot of political philosophy, and he compared each citizen in the country to being like a cell in the body. And so just like millions of cells make up the body, so millions of citizens make up the society. And what I like about that is the idea that each person is part of something bigger. So like if you say your family, if you got say a wife and a husband and a few kids, each one of them is like a cell in that family. But also if we think about ourselves individually, we have our external personality, our ego, but we also have other little personalities, like the little kid inside us who's scared, the adventurer, and per day we actually, different personalities will dominate. And you might have even heard of people who have personality disorder where the discrepancy is so big they're actual different personalities. Now that's an extreme case, somebody who is literally, there's a famous comedy movie, Me, Myself and Irene, and the lead character was nice and he's an anti-character which was nasty, etc. And that was a comedy, it's a good film. We're not like that, but we are little mini personalities come in and out. So say for example you want to lose weight. Well, a little sub-personality of yours will kick in and say, well actually I like eating, I love eating. Matter of fact, eating prevents me from feeling anxious and upset. So I'm actually filling myself with this buffer called food. And I like it. And of course this is a sub-personality inside your mind. It's not rational thinking, it's in the unconscious. And the unconscious is like a dream. It's like a dream landscape. So you might have all this stuff up here, but inside here, some sub-personality feels some attraction to doing that thing and doesn't see why I should give it up. So that's an example of a sub-personality simply not liking to play ball because it finds some satisfaction from that. And we have to look at things like if you're not as fit as you should be, if you're not as maybe as wealthy as you should be, etc. There's usually something in there that you're getting something out of your present existence. If you're overweight, for example, usually when people are overweight, the food is cushioning something. The food is filling in some lack. The food is part of the problem. It's not just some people, get overweight because they, atypically they get married and settle down and become sedentary and gain weight. But for, if that's the case, you can reverse it really fast in a few months. But if you're the person who's dieted 25 times in the last 20 years and you're just bouncing up and down, you've got some psychological issue in there somewhere that has to be challenged. Same thing, let's say you're poor. To be honest with you, if you're in most countries, certainly if you're in Western Europe or America, and even a lot of developing countries, if you're reasonably intelligent and hard-working, you can definitely make some good money. There are, of course, some countries whereby the countries at war and terrible things are happening that, it's not possible. But for the majority of people, majority of countries, they can do okay. And if you're not doing okay by, say, 35 or 40, 45, again, there's probably some self-sabotage. Maybe you don't feel worthy of that success, or maybe you're scared of the success, for example. Your relationship, often relationships copy a cycle. We copy the cycle of our parents, and if our parents were shouting and screaming, we end up shouting and screaming. So again, this is a sub-personality within ourselves that maybe gets a kick out of the fighting, or just thinks that that's the way it is. I remember the first time I went to college, the first year, I had a roommate, as it were, and the guy used to give me hell. It took me about 6 months to realise he liked confrontation. I don't like confrontation. He liked it. And I start realising it's not so personal. It's not that he doesn't even like me. He just likes confrontation. He's from a family where everybody fights. And in his family, everybody fights. In my family, nobody fights. So I felt upset, but he felt jolly because he liked fighting. So, just to understand where people are coming from. So same thing, whatever it is you want to change, before just saying, I will do a resolution, think, why is that not doing that? Is there any reason why I'm not doing that? And then try and deal with it. So say, for example, you're trying to lose weight and you have this sub-personality, as it were, maybe you need to feel some kind of inner support. So a very good thing to do, and this is good for things like smoking, stuff like that as well, whereby you got something that's basically an addiction. It's pulling you there's a reasoning behind it. Take up something new. Take up the piano, take up the guitar, take up a new hobby. Always for weight loss, a great one is to go down to the gym, because you go down to the gym and you start shaping your body up, then you feel a sense of reward that you're changing your body. If it's something like smoking, probably try and find something else to do. It's an oral addiction to do with the mouth, so again, That's why I see people chewing on plastic cigarettes and stuff like that. But again, trying to find something to replace it, like smoking, for example, is very social. When I work over many offices, you have, these days there's no smoking in offices, so all the smokers go outside. So everybody else gets a break in the morning and a break in the afternoon. The smokers get about 5 breaks a day. They keep saying to the boss, I have to go for a smoke. What they do to go for a smoke, 10, 15 minutes, chatting to other smokers. So it's very sociable. So, one thing is just trying to realize where you're coming from and maybe find a substitute, something that can fit in there. The other thing is trying to reason with yourself, because the subpersonality is kind of listening at some level and try and, have this kind of inner conversation with the subpersonality. Feel nurtured. You don't have to have the cigarette. You don't have to have the cheeseburger, whatever it is. Another thing, that's one thing, is the subpersonality is at war. So just think of it like, I've been in many big offices, and the management team would want to bring in some kind of new plan, but the workers didn't like it. So the management team is like your ego. I want to achieve X. But then inside here is these subpersonalities who don't want to, because they're comfortable doing what they're doing, or they get a kick out of doing what they're doing, or whatever it is. So if you say to somebody who's getting $25,000 a year, you're going to get $25,000 a year, but you're going to do 20% more work. Well, he's going to think, why am I doing this? What's in it for me? So, try and figure out what's holding you back, and try and convince that whoever's holding you back, you can talk to a subpersonality. And maybe I'll do a video on this at some stage in the future. But you can look at things like that, and try and realize is you're not just dealing with this, you're dealing with all of you, as it were. So the other thing is simply lack of resources. I remember back in 2009, I decided to do a rejuvenation program. I studied for a week or two. I came up with all sorts of wonderful ideas for physical rejuvenation, and I tried to start about 10 new habits. It was taking me about an hour and a half to do all these different regimes. It all fell apart in 3 or 4 weeks. And looking back at it, the reason is I didn't give myself enough resources. As a rule of thumb, it takes 21 days to create a new habit. So you need to give yourself time. It just takes a while for your mind starts working. It's like if you go to bed every night at 2 in the morning, it's very hard to go to bed early. You start going to bed at 9 o'clock in the evening. After about 3 weeks, get used to it, and then it's hard to go the other way. It's like if you're fat, it's hard to stop eating. If you get down to say 7% body fat, it's hard to think in terms of eating a lot. You'll feel stuffed. When you get to 8 or 9% body fat, you'll feel like a slob, even though you still got a six pack. So we get used to whatever we're doing, good or bad. And that's the thing to remember with habits. Your unconscious mind will enforce a habit, good or bad. Your unconscious mind doesn't really care about the habit, whether it's good or bad, but it will enforce the habit, whether it's good or bad. So, this is where we have to, be like the chairman of the board and say, this is the directive, and we have to push it. And the easiest way is to give yourself time. Don't try 10 new things at once or 3 new things at once. Try 1 new thing at once. And after 3 weeks and that becomes a habit, try another thing at once. If you were to introduce 1 new habit every month, that'd be 12 wonderful habits by the end of the year. It's better to introduce 12 new habits over a year than to introduce 2 habits in 1 month. A lot of people have 2 or 3 things they want to achieve starting in January, and it all falls apart by the end of January. So, it's nice psychologically to think in terms of New Year, but we should be thinking in terms of every month I should do something to slightly improve, little by little by little. So part of the resource as well is giving ourselves the necessary tools, giving ourselves the time to learn new things, and maybe do some training. So for example, I remember when I went to the gym for the first time, I found it really, really shocking to be in the gym for the first time. I didn't know what to do, where to go, and I felt nervous. It's just like your first day in a job. And even today, if I go to a new gym, I feel nervous for the first few days. But when I went to the gym first, I felt nervous for the first month. Nowadays, I feel in a new gym, I feel nervous for a few days. So this is where we need support. Like you need like a personal trainer maybe to support you for a few weeks. Even though it might be expensive, it's good to get you into the habit just for a few weeks. Or to join like some kind of training program or training class whereby you have to do something, you have to turn up, you're expected to turn up, you paid your money to turn up, and someone's going to support you. If you're learning a new skill, like say you're learning the guitar, well, if you take a class, you're more likely to practice than if you just read a book. If you read a book, you'll forget about it after a week, you won't bother, you'll become lazy because it's new. But if you know I have to go on Wednesday for an hour and I have to play the piece that I practiced last Wednesday in front of the instructor, you're more likely to take it seriously. Also, you're more likely to correct faults and and stuff like that. Say, here's a good example of, let's say you want to improve your diet, but you're always eating junk food. Well, maybe join a cooking class, and a healthy cooking class, not a making chocolate cake cooking class, and talking about the healthy one, and learn some new recipes and hang out with other people and share ideas and make things, and you get the idea. So you have to give yourself. So one thing is this inner personality, subpersonality fighting you. The second thing is lack of preparation. So you give yourself 21 days for putting in a new habit, and you give yourself the resources. You attend a class, you read a book, you talk to other people, you get a mentor, somebody to mentor you a bit. You don't just go out there cold turkey and think, that's it now again. Say, for example, running. I'm just going to start running around the block and hope for the best. No, buy a good book and running, and start doing running in a structured way, the way you have it in the book. And maybe after a month or two, when you go over your initial embarrassment, you can actually run a few miles, maybe think of joining a running club, okay, for example. All right. The third one we're going to do today, this is going to be the last one here today, is the simple inertia of doing something new. There's a law in the universe called entropy, which basically everything wants to disintegrate. If you're not going forward, you're going backwards. There really is no static. Everything's moving. You just can't see it. Right now, we're moving around at 1,000 miles an hour. We don't feel it, but we're doing it. So everything is moving. Your body's moving. The cells are moving. The atoms are like, if you can see a subatomic electron microscope, all the atoms are doing this. Everything is moving. So things are either going up or going down, and the tendency is to pull things down. And that's why we have to keep pushing forward. And probably one of the biggest challenges isn't just, say, the subpersonality that's holding us back, but it's the general inertia of doing something new. It feels like a big hassle. When you start something new, it's like, the analogy I would give you is like the train taking off. When the train takes off, you see the train is like taking off like this, and then it goes like that, faster and faster and faster. Before you know it, you're doing 70 miles an hour. Some trains do 120 miles an hour, some trains do 200 miles an hour. Plus these days, it's 300 kilometers per hour plus 320 kilometers per hour, something like that. So, you're going to meet resistance, and this is where we have to, motivate ourselves and realize that when I start something new, it's like I'm digging from nothing. It's like if I want to create a house. What's the first thing you must do when you create a house? First thing you have to do is you have to work out where exactly you're going to lay out the land, as it were. Okay, you're going to stand there with your kind of device thing and all of that stuff to see exactly, this is the groundwork, see what you're going to do. That's like you're thinking, what am I going to do in my New Year's resolution? The next thing you have to do is you get a shovel and you start digging a hole. And the taller the building, the bigger the hole, maybe you start getting a digger or whatever it is, you dig 10 feet down, 20 feet down, 30 feet down. The first thing you have to do is dig dirt. That's the first thing you have to do, which is a challenge. Then gets to laying the foundations, also a challenge. Then gets to actually building the walls and stuff, a bit more exciting, almost looks like a building. And then gets the really easy, fast stuff, which is the putting in the windows and painting and all that, and the floorboards and all this. And if you ever look at a building being built, the slowest thing is the digging the hole seems to take forever, the foundations take forever, and then suddenly the building goes up overnight. And then over the next few weeks or whatever, all the other bits are done. But it's the groundwork, the beginning work that is a hassle, and it's a dirty, slimy, dirty work. If you haven't gone to college before, it's a challenge to go to college. If you want to make a career change, it's a hassle going off in a new direction. It's a big hassle to make a career change. You want to lose weight, you have to stop eating so much, and you have to adjust, and so on and so forth. You want to go smoking or drinking, whatever, again, it's hard. You want to learn a musical instrument or something, first of all you have to do all this boring chord stuff. It's really, really boring, but it gives you the basics. So they're the three things. Number one is subpersonalities inside of you, which are actually you fighting yourself. Find out what's demotivating you. Find out what the motivation could be of another part of you who doesn't want to go and play ball. Just like if you're the boss, try to work out what your team is doing and why a team member isn't playing ball, and try and get them on side. The second thing is, of course, give yourself the resources, 21 days, training, etc. The third thing is to realize that there's inertia, that things will either go forwards or backwards, and you have to push and push, and this is going to be hard. And motivate yourself, read good books, look through the nice positive Facebook quotes, look at nice YouTube videos, maybe find a group of people that can help you, a support group, a mentoring group, a mentor, other people being where you're at, maybe they're a year or two ahead of you. Always ideal, a person who's just ahead of you, not someone who's 10 years ahead of you, somebody who's 1 year ahead of you, and just hang out with that person because you need the support. So I know you want to make many changes in the new year, but just start even with 1 or 2 changes. Find out what might be holding you back. Try and address that. Give yourself to 21 days. Give yourself the training, and give yourself some mentorship support for motivation, because for the first couple of months or so, even though the habit will be there after 3 weeks, the result will take a few months before you really start seeing a result. Okay, so there are the basic reasons why we don't achieve what we want to achieve in New Year's resolutions. Is this self-sabotage, and there's an endless number of self-sabotaging possibilities, but there are 3 good ones to be aware of. Okay, so watch out for the subpersonality that doesn't get along with you. Give yourself the resources, including 21 days, and give yourself the motivation, because the first few months of doing something new are going to be a challenge, because you're digging in dirt, you're creating something new, and you have to get the inertia. You have to go from an entropy position where there's nothing there, and you have to build it up bit by bit by bit by bit. And that's probably the hardest part, because once the results start coming, you've lost 5 inches off your waist, or you've got $1,000 saved in your bank account, or you're doing well in your new college course, or your relationships are seem to be a lot better, then it becomes biofeedback, and you get the positive feedback, and it feels easy. Okay, so just throwing that out there. If you're looking at this coming up to New Year, have a happy and prosperous New Year. If you're coming on another time, remember you should really be doing resolutions every month, not every year. Okay, psychologically New Year's good, but you should be doing it every month. Okay, thanks for dropping by. Like and subscribe if you can, and have a great day.